Everyone loves an underdog story. Think David and Goliath, the little engine that could. For some reason, everyone wants to root for the little guy, the one who isn't supposed to win, the plucky upstart defying the odds. No one ever wants to side with the overwhelmingly powerful villain capable of easily crushing his smaller, weaker foes. Anyway, in the kind of movies we're talking about, the real estate developer is the ultimate overdog, top dog, just dog. Well, whatever you want to call these evil fiends, neighborhood residents are simply no match. They're out-resourced, underprepared, and usually taken completely by surprise.
Mr. Green, what's going on?
It's Shaq. He wants to buy up the whole neighborhood so he can knock it down and put up a fancy mall.
Who's Shaq?
The plan, which was approved by the mayor just moments ago, would allow future tech industries to redevelop a 6-square block area between 33rd and 39th Streets.
They didn't start the fight, but if they want to save their neighborhood and everything they hold dear, they have no choice but to fight back. When these are the stakes, residents feel compelled to resist with every ounce of their strength and by any means necessary. Prefer to avoid this kind of conflict when it comes to your next project? Pull up a chair. Let's watch some movies.
All right, we'll show Ms. Bitterman. When we pull together, we can do anything, right?
Yes, right. Yes. Even if we go broke doing it.
Yeah. Gonzo? You're not helping.
Oh. Sorry.
Citizens of the silver screen are typically humble, wholesome creatures. When provoked, their initial response is to meet the threat with adorably pacifist tactics, like a petition, party, or fundraiser. It's heartwarming to see, and it also never works. And that's a problem for our humble citizens, because they only have 90 minutes of screen time. They're up against a tight deadline, racing against the clock to prevent the destruction of their homes.
I do regret calling it that now.
I know I'm always saying, stay away from the campers. This is different. Jellystone is in real trouble.
You can pay me the considerable debt you owe me in full by midnight of the 24th or vacate this theater.
But the 24th is Christmas Eve.
And we owe them $20,000 by the end of the week, or they'll auction our house.
$20,000?
This is where they deploy their secret weapon, never giving up. In film after film, the lesson is clear. Throw the kitchen sink at your developer enemy, stay in the fight, and your efforts will be rewarded at the final possible moment. Sometimes it's a last-minute historical designation that saves the day, with the powers that be finally coming around to recognize. More often, the saving grace comes in the form of some kind of performance, music, theater, or dance, giving the heroes the chance to miraculously raise exactly the amount of money they need to defend their turf. If the neighborhood is feeling daring, sometimes they'll leave the performing arts behind and challenge the developers on their terms. That is, they'll compete in some kind of elitist sport, like golf or boating, which not only makes for high-stakes drama, it's worth noting that this whole last-ditch, running out the clock thing actually has a grain of truth to it. Developers' work is time-sensitive, and excessive delays really can imperil funding and approval timelines. So, even though the methods are exaggerated, audiences actually are learning a potentially effective tactic here.
Just thought I'd remind you I got some high-priced digging equipment and crews sitting around playing gin rummy waiting for you to make up your mind. It's costing you 80 grand a day.
Will you stop bugging me, Barnsdorf? I'll give you the order to start digging any moment now.
Right. Beating developers at their own game. As we've learned in other videos, developers eat, sleep, and breathe destruction, which gives neighborhoods permission to give them a taste of their own medicine. After all, isn't that what the golden rule says? Treat others the way you imagine they would treat you if they were cartoonishly exaggerated and evil versions of themselves? Developers' high-profile parties are one popular target for neighborhood ne'er-do-wells, heroes.
All right, guys, you know what to do. It's time to destroy this little celebration.
Everything is fine.
In movies, this isn't just an effective tactic, it's also funny. Audiences are supposed to love seeing the developer disgraced, Let's just set aside the fact that we're literally witnessing crimes here. Sometimes the criminal chaos can even escalate into destruction of their own neighborhood, a necessary evil in order to protect it. This brings up an interesting question. Why are neighborhood residents so consistently opposed to developers in these movies? The answer? From the perspective of the residents, developers' plans will never contribute to the good of the existing residents. Therefore, they represent the most vile word in the entire English language, gentrification, which obviously must be opposed at all costs and fought until one's dying breath.
Oh, I know it sucks that they're ruining a town and everything, but this is the best vanilla latte I have ever had in my entire life. You can actually taste the vanilla beans that these... I don't like the coffee.
Never mind the fact that in reality, people opposing gentrification can do plenty of their own damage. Say if their opposition prevents infrastructure improvements or economic stimulus that could actually help residents. But that's never a consideration in these films, because in the neighborhood, everything is perfect. Everything needs to stay exactly the way it is, from the handprints in the cement to the scratches on the doorpost to the square dancing to, it's not like anyone actually walks around thinking this way. But when the developer swoops in, suddenly they do, which means they're justified in doing whatever it takes to stop change in its tracks. At its most extreme, neighborhood resistance comes down to just one single family, or even to one lone person. Sometimes they win, and their faith is rewarded when the rest of the community floods back in to support them. Sometimes, rarely, they don't succeed, perhaps most famously in Up. But for the audience, this doesn't matter. And in some ways, it's even more damning. Because even in defeat, the resistors' resistance is inspiring. We get to see them become their true self. The developers may have gotten their land, but they can never touch their spirit. Or something like that. Developers would never understand anyway, so there's no point dwelling on it. The bottom line is, when neighborhoods feel they have nothing to lose, they feel emboldened to mount a passionate resistance that sometimes really can foil developers' plans. Are you inviting neighborhood residents to feel this way about you? Check out The Secret Formula to learn more, and to learn how to earn more peaceable community relationships. Until then, prepare yourself for resistance by any means necessary, even